Hi there, it's Melody Bird, and today we've got another lesson on coloring in the open chords in the key of G. And I've got a little riff here that we're going to go through, and we'll zoom in and dig deeper with it too, right? Here it goes. Okay, here we are. Now we are embellishing the open chords to the key of G. So in the key of G, we have a G chord, an A minor chord, a B minor chord, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and a G. All right. Now, and right there I just did the F sharp diminished seventh, but that's okay. There's a note in there that kind of doesn't belong in the key if we're just going off of the scale, but this chord progression that I did was G, D, then we did back to G, E minor, a C, A major, a D, back to G. Alright, so let's start from the first one. And actually, the way that we're coloring in these open chords is with the G major scale. So that scale goes. All right. And we can also work down. Okay. So we can use all those notes and more actually to color in those chords. So the first one that I did, so this is like a double stop. So I'm using those notes on the scale. This next chord was a D chord. So you can see the D here. And inside of a D we have an F sharp. And we can also put it in the bass. And I like to use my thumb to do that. Some people play it like this. I prefer to use the thumb. Keep the D shape here like that. You can use your thumb. Although you can see I was not using my middle finger here to hold that note down because I wasn't playing it on this hand, right? So also, something to keep in mind is the melody that I'm kind of using to color in the chords. So in the G, with my right hand, my finger picking hand, I'm stopping on the second string here. I'm not going all the way up or all the way up here. I'm just stopping on the second string with the open B string. Okay. So the melody on this B string right here, open, then the first fret, and then I'm going up to here. I'm just moving up the scale, right? So inside this chord, there's my leading note right there, okay? So still just going up the scale. Right? So, now all these chords have names, right? Like back in this G. This is almost like a C chord at this point, but if we're still going to call it a G chord, let's see, now it has a C, and it also has an E inside of it too. So we'd say it has a root. It has a sixth. This is just another G, so another root. And then this one is a C. So we have a sixth, a root, and a fourth. So it's like a G sus4 add 6, or a G6 sus4, or however you want to say it. All right, so, but that's not what's going through my head. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to play a G6 sus4 there. I'm just looking at the dots in the scale. Right? And I'm thinking about the melodic line moving up. Might just move up like that, but I changed through the chords. So watch again, we have a G to this D with the F sharp in the bass. Still the melody's just on this second string here. Moving up. Back to the G. But now you can see I'm hitting that first string, 3rd fret. The first time I was down here, you can hear how different those two G's are versus, right? Big difference in that coloring tone up on top. So now I'm going back down to the E minor. So this note gets used inside the D. The G major 7. All right. This is an E minor 7, but again, just going up the scale, then back down. I'm sorry. Right? Okay, then we do a C. I move back up. Still just using the scale. It all is about the control on your picking hand. But now I do an A major instead of an A minor, right? So this note inside the A major, it does not belong in the key. Well, in the major scale. Keys are very flexible things once you get to know them. I'm still learning a lot about keys, okay? But this note here is the big ticket right here. So it's the difference between an A minor and an A major is this one note. Okay, a C or a C sharp. And the G major scale does not have a C sharp in it, but the reason why it works so well is because we're making a chromatic line that's moving, and it causes a little bit of tension when we step outside of the key or outside of the scale, right? So this note is causing some tension, and we can pretend for a second that the A chord, whether it's minor or major, we can pretend for a second that it's the 5th chord, not the 2nd, right? Remember in the chords we have G is the 1st chord, A minor was the 2nd, B minor was 3rd, 4th, and so on, right? So in the key of G, the A chord is the 2nd chord, but if we pretend it's the 5th chord, and we can make a cadence out of it. In other words, we can go from a 5 to a 1, right? So if this is the tension chord, it gets resolved by going to the D. Even though the D is actually the 5th chord in the key of G, we can pretend that it's the destination chord or the 1 chord temporarily. We call that a cadence. So if there's tension here, we can resolve it. All right? So another reason why that sounds so good is because of the chromatic line that I was talking about. So in the C chord, we're going to follow this 2nd string, okay? So in the C chord, we get a C. In the A chord, we get a C sharp. And in the D chord, we get a D. So we get this. And that's very pleasing to the ear, because we know what's going to happen next. It's just a linear movement, right? So that's why that works. And I have other lessons on chromatic lines too. and I like to put them a lot all over my playing. And for there, just for some color, I went up to the open string here. This is a D sus2. And this time I've got the bass on the D string, and then I switch it. Still a D chord, but now it's a D7. Still keeping the F sharp in the bass with my thumb, although I used a different fingering this time. Don't have a good explanation as to why when I make D7s I do it this way. I could do it this way still. Well, one good reason is I can just slide it up and I got back to my G. Alright, and then I do a little thing at the end. I go, and this is like a, we're going to a C, but I'm keeping the G in the bass. And the G is actually the 5th. There's a G inside the C anyways. Oops. Right? But it keeps some continuity inside when we go from a G to keep that G ringing through. So let's go through it again. We got, and again, it all has to do with the scale. So something that I'd like for you to take away from this is not just learning the exact thing that I just showed you, but using the concept that I showed you, which is applying the scale to the chords. And you can really just start with any melodic line. You know, I kind of made one that ascended up and then went back down and kind of went all the way around. But you can make a simple one and try to keep it through the rest of the chords. I don't know how it's going to sound just yet, but you know, we could just take something simple like, you know, start on one string and then try it throughout the rest of the chords. So we have a G, an A minor, a B minor. Let's see, we can do, we can just hit the B, just the bass to keep it simple. Or there's this shape we could try. So you might have to get creative a little bit. That might be the simplest thing to do. We have a C, a D, E minor, the F sharp diminished, back to the G. See, some of those sounded better than others, but the idea is what you get to play with. And I just made up that little melody now, so obviously something simple. The B minor, you know, was showing to be a little tough with that. So sometimes it's easier to go somewhere else with it. Certain melodic lines are going to lend themselves to different chords. But the idea is you got your chords, you got your scale, then you have to figure out how to play them together. One exercise that I like doing, and I share this with some of my students, is to try to go through the entire scale using just the bass. And it sounds something like this. Then you do it with the A. the B. You can go back up it, of course, to C. D. E minor. F. Sharp. And the G. Right? Now it's going descending. You can do it ascending, do both. However you explore that is fine. A lot of you probably already do some little leads, you know, while someone's jamming a rhythm. So imagine your thumb is the rhythm, and then you just explore, right? Alright, that's it for today's lesson, and I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll see you next time.